Hey guys, this is Issues with Toddy One Skip. I am Toddy One Skip. Welcome back to our channel, our place, the place where we come and hang. What are we going to have to eat, drink, smoke? Where are you this time of the day? What are you eating? Are you eating something? It's Friday. Welcome to the weekend, guys. Welcome to the weekend. Guys, I came across a video by Dr. Phil, who I just think is shit anyway. But the video was only 8 months old, believe it or not. And it was about Gypsy Rose. And now I know that Dr. Phil did, a face-to-face interview with Gypsy a long time ago. This is from, his podcast. And again, this video is 8 months old. And so Gypsy was already out of prison. We already heard some of the fabrications. A lot of her stuff had been debunked because she's a moron and just doesn't know how to tell the truth and can't remember her lies. And Dr. Phil, somebody who supposedly had a degree, he gave up his degree, I understand. He never went back and, so why we're still calling him Dr. Phil when he's got a expired degree, I believe, because I don't believe he's updated anything. But the irresponsibility of this guy not changing the dialogue when the dialogue and the story and everything has changed about Gypsy Rose. This guy is still bashing Nick Godejohn and still bashing Dee Dee Blanchard and still praising Gypsy Rose. So I want to be clear, guys. I've watched the first 3 episodes, or listened to, the first 4 or 5 episodes here, I guess. At least the first 3 episodes here. And if there's something that changes on the 5th or 6th episode, if there is so many, there does need to be something on these episodes that says that the dialogue has changed, that things have changed. This is supposed to be a smart guy who says that he can't be fooled, yet he has been fooled, and the average bear has not. Dr. Phil, take this shit off of your broadcast, because it's irresponsible and it's wrong. And for anybody to come upon it now and listen to the story, the dialogue is off. You called Gypsy naive and unsophisticated, and you called Nick a monster. And now the proof is that Gypsy was the fucking monster and Nick was naive. And you're leaving this shit up here for the world to see it backwards and wrong because you couldn't determine in your smartness that you were being lied to by somebody who was naive and unsophisticated? You couldn't suck that up and just take the shit off the air? You got to continue to perpetuate a story that's untrue and not good for anybody. See, young kids see this and they think Gypsy's some sort of hero. She unalived her mom because she wanted out. You want to talk about, you don't ask any questions, Dr. Phil, and I challenge you. Because here's the thing. If somebody's saying to you, I didn't really keep in touch with my daughter because of the mother and this and that, but I only thought she was going to live to maybe be 20 years old because that's what I was told. That's what Rod and Christy were told, according to them, that Gypsy was only going to live to be about 20 years old. If they believed that, why didn't they make more of an effort to see her if they thought she was going to be dying? I mean, he loves his daughter. Why didn't he make any effort to see her? Make any effort to get close to her? Especially when he knew she was 18 years old. So he had the right to make some changes in her life, but he didn't. He didn't do it because he didn't care. I mean, he didn't care. Somebody's telling you, my daughter's only going to live to be 20 years old. Yeah, that's all right. I can wait. I can wait to see her. But Dr. Phil didn't ask those tough questions. Dr. Phil followed a dialogue like we all did. But some of us, sorry, Gypsy, taking your moves. But some of us listened after we were done speaking. Dr. Phil, who only likes to hear his own voice, I'm convinced. And he's so full of himself. You, Dr. Phil, you were fucked in the head by a home-schooled, unsophisticated person that you claim is unsophisticated, naive. Well, she beat the hell out of your smart mind, didn't she? Because you bought into this bullshit. And years later, after all of it, apparently you continue to buy into this bullshit because this is the stuff that you keep on your airwaves, and it's irresponsible. It's irresponsible and it should come down because it's not true. You've heard her. You've seen her. If you have any kind of brain, have any kind of schooling, you know she's full of shit and we've all been duped. So why don't you change the dialogue? Why don't you change the dialogue and be more fair to Dee Dee's legacy? You know, because we know Gypsy wasn't stuck in a wheelchair. We know that because Gypsy could walk. And as a doctor, you knew that. Because I knew that and I'm not a doctor. If you don't use the muscles in the legs, they don't work anymore. We all know that except for you, Dr. Phil. Dr. Phil, you look like a moron here. I can understand somebody fooling you because we can all be fooled, even you, Dr. Phil. But when the story changes and you go ahead and keep the same story up there, that's irresponsible. That's irresponsible. You need to look into your friend Gypsy Rose. You need to look into Nick Godejohn. There was nothing that you mentioned about Nick being autistic. There was nothing about how Gypsy had the upper hand in that relationship. You see any of those videos that came out with Gypsy eating brownies and what else was going to be eaten? You didn't see any of that, right? You don't know that she came on to Nick, right? You don't know that there was a man before that she ran away to be with, that Nick didn't take her V card. You don't know that, huh? Who are you? You claim to be some sort of doctor. You get half of a story, you run with it, and then you keep the same dialogue up there when everything has changed. You're not responsible. What are you in this for? I didn't like you from the get, but when I found this shit, I mean, I thought I'd be making fun of Gypsy doing a reactionary video on Gypsy. I'm doing one on you, because 8 months old these are. She was already out of prison 3 months. You already saw her behavior. And you leave this shit up here for younger people to see, and you know it's changed. As a doctor, or somebody who pretends to be a doctor, if that's what you want to be called, Dr. Phil, you need to be more responsible. Gypsy was the mastermind here. Gypsy was the one that tried to undo her mom 2 times. The 3rd time she did it. Gypsy was the one that sent Nick that video. You didn't mention that. You had Nick as somebody lurking as a dark shadow. But you didn't mention anything about Gypsy taking the weapon, Gypsy sending Nick a video, an instructional video on how to unalive her mom. Nothing like that. Man, what's wrong with you? And you still blame Dee Dee. Guys, I'm going to leave little excerpts here. If you want to check it out, check out Dr. Phil online. He's got a podcast. He's an idiot.
Mother knows best. Always doing what her mom asked her to do, never challenging, always remaining courageous as she faced her mounting illnesses head on.
I'm just asking you, Dr. Phil, do you know how stupid you sound? She did everything her mother asked her to do. Yes. No, see, Dr. Phil, it seems like Dee Dee did everything Gypsy asked her to do, if you cared to look back on the case.
I questioned Dee Dee, what's going on? She can walk or not? You know, she's been in a wheelchair all her life. And the answer I got from Dee Dee was she had a disease and it was going to progressively get worse. And eventually she was going to be bound to the wheelchair at all times. And that's when I kind of started asking Dee Dee, what's going on? Dee Dee said she wasn't going to live to be 20 years old.
So she wasn't going to live to be 20 years old. But again, Rod was like, I'll see her in the next life. I mean, you say that you're a responsible dad, but somebody's telling you your kid's going to only live to be so many years. You already know she's 18 years in your mind, and you know she's 18 years. You claim that she doesn't know how old she is, but you know she's 18 years old, so maybe she's got 2 more years to live, and you're like, okay, I'll see you next time. Again, just stupid.
Here's Gypsy's stepmom, Christy.
Her Mickey button.
And as we know, Christy just can't tell the truth any way, shape, or form. She just can't tell the truth, so we can't really listen to Christy at all because, you know, she doesn't tell the truth. She wasn't, as Ryan said, he would try to call Christy after Gypsy tried to call her for 2 weeks while she was incarcerated, and how Christy never made an effort to reach out to Gypsy. Ryan kept having to nudge Christy to call Gypsy back. Remember that? So that's who Christy is. Let's be real. That's who Christy is. Somebody who really doesn't want to be bothered with somebody else's kid, but sees some sort of golden rainbow here or something. I don't know, and jumped in on it because seriously, she didn't want to be bothered before. The leukemia, we didn't think that she would live a long life and everything.
I mean, chromosomes missing, and there was so much when people would ask me, oh, what Gypsy has wrong with her? I'm like, the list is shorter of what she doesn't have. That's pretty much.
And still, she didn't support her husband to go and see the daughter, apparently Rod's firstborn child, even though they all thought she was going to die.
Dee Dee had told me that she had problems with her salivary glands, that from one of her seizures that it made her get paralyzed from mid-thigh down. A surgery for her acid reflux, saying that she had to get part of her stomach lining wrapped around her esophagus.
So I want to ask you a question, Christy. You've seen Gypsy. How many scars does she have?
So we like those who like us, and we believe people that we like. Now, it therefore follows that we tend to believe people that like us.
What? Wait a minute. Whoa. Let's hear this idiot again. Let's hear this again.
So we like those who like us, and we believe people that we like. Now, it therefore follows that we tend to believe people that like us.
So I'm just trying to see if this is some sort of presidential election and we're practicing imitating presidents that don't know what they're talking about, or if this is just a fucking idiot. Let's listen to it again.
So we like those who like us, and we believe people that we like. Now, it therefore follows that we tend to believe people that like us.
Doesn't everybody think that way, or is he just a fucking genius, this guy? Unbelievable.
Now, why am I taking time to talk about this? I'm telling you this so you understand how vulnerable Gypsy Rose was when someone she met liked her. Because her mother didn't let anybody like her. She kept her isolated from any really intimate relationships. She'd put her on display like a show dog for charity and all that stuff, but she never let her have any real relationships. So she was very vulnerable when she met someone that really liked her, especially a male, for whose attention she was really starving. Now, if you watch Dr. Phil, you've probably heard me say time and again to fathers of daughters that if you do not make your daughter feel valued, if she doesn't believe that there's at least one man in this world who believes that she is special, she will find it somewhere else.
Oh, the genius! The genius who's got this all figured out. Let's listen more.
She will listen to the first old boy, the first young man that comes along and whispers in her ear and tells her what she wants to hear. And he was making her feel like a woman. He was telling her things that made her feel grown up, made her feel desired. He preyed upon her need.
You mean it wasn't that she taught him everything about like role play and bondage and shit like that? You sure about that? Because there's actual proof that she turned him on to it. Dr. Phil, you have failed us. You need to check this shit out and stop telling people the wrong fucking story when the story's changed and you were fooled. So just say you were fooled. Tell the truth. Tell the right story now. Because this is bullshit. You look stupid.
He sensed him. He went in and told her what she responded to, and her hormones were raging. And he was giving her a place to vent them. Now, Gypsy Rose, from a psychological standpoint, she was easy prey for so many reasons. She was incredibly unsophisticated.
Nick had autism. Gypsy wasn't incredibly unsophisticated. You were fooled.
She had never been in a relationship before.
She was in a relationship before. You don't have that information because you didn't do any fucking research.
She was naive.
She wasn't naive. You're naive.
She was easily manipulated.
Nope, you're easily manipulated. She wasn't.
And as I said, she was desperate for male attention.
No, she had male attention. She had already lost her V card, but you don't know that.
You're listening to episode 3 of The Killer Thorn of Gypsy Rose, Analysis of Murder by Dr. Phil.
I left that on there so that you guys know I didn't make this shit up. Dr. Phil! 8 months old this video is.
In this episode of our multi-part series, Gypsy Rose tells me about her life locked inside a different kind of prison than the one I'm going to talk to her in today.
So again, he listens to this whole sad story and he buys into all this bullshit that's Gypsy Rose. And then when he learns, and I keep saying this, and when he learns something different, he doesn't come and take the video down and talk about how he was fooled or anything because he's a moron.
Now, here's a quick recap to catch you up with what we've covered so far. When sheriff's deputies found Dee Dee Blanchard's body, face down in a pool of blood, her daughter Gypsy was nowhere to be found. An all-points bulletin was sent out to find the person that had stabbed Dee Dee and apparently kidnapped Gypsy. Now, Gypsy was said to be paralyzed, fighting multiple diseases, including cancer. But 72 hours later, Gypsy was found alive, and it made headlines all over the globe.
Gypsy Blanchard was found safe shortly after 10 this morning in another state.
Gypsy was found in her boyfriend's house in Wisconsin, 600 miles and 3 states away from her home in Springfield, Missouri.
What you failed to mention What you failed to mention again, Dr. Phil, is that Dee Dee set him up. Gypsy had everything set up. Gypsy bought him the ticket and everything. Gypsy set this man up. It wasn't supposed to go down the way it went down at that house. Nick, I don't think, was supposed to leave that house. Dr. Phil, again, you're a moron.
After a brief standoff, Nicholas Godejohn was in custody. He was charged with the first-degree murder of Dee Dee Blanchard. Then, deputies escorted Gypsy out. And that was a shocker for everyone because she was walking on her own 2 feet. Now, Gypsy's father, Rod, could not believe his eyes. He thought his daughter was paralyzed for life, just like everyone else did.
I was so happy to see her walk. It was weird. I was happy. I was mad. I had so many different emotions.
But that was only one shock. The aftershock that came next threw her father and everyone else for a loop. Gypsy wasn't kidnapped, not even close. She was, in fact, the prime suspect.
She was also the master manipulator that came up with the whole fucking plan. Why don't you mention that, Dr. Phil?
I got her in handcuffs. I'm like, she's walking. Wow, what is going on? And then the story kind of unravels about her boyfriend and this and that. It didn't take long for me to realize that, if she can walk, what else has been a lie all these years,
And how much did she lie to you, Rod? Don't you understand the lies were more than just fucking Dee Dee? The lies were Gypsies?
Well, he's right. If that was a lie, what else has been a lie? Those answers were going to come fast and furious. Now, I say answers plural because what else was a lie? Well, the answer to that question is just about everything. Dee Dee Blanchard was a pathological liar who suffered from something that's commonly referred to as Munchausen syndrome by
This is when it gets really bad. Because when he diagnoses Dee Dee with Munchausen, see, you can only diagnose somebody with Munchausen when they're alive. So he has diagnosed her with Munchausen and Gypsy Munchausen by proxy. And that is so fucking irresponsible because the only way to diagnose Dee Dee with Munchausen is if she's alive. So, Dr. Phil, so irresponsible as somebody that has doctor in front of their name. Just totally wanting us to buy into a dialogue that's untrue. And this is how shit happens.
Proxy or factitious disorder imposed upon another. I've said already that many people regard this as a mental illness, including the American Psychiatric Association, but I disagree. So
Dr. Phil disagrees. You know why? Because he's a genius. He's a genius that has diagnosed somebody who's unalive with something that can only be diagnosed while they're alive, and then he's saying it's not a mental disorder. Dr. Phil knows it all. He knows it all.
I'm telling you, I'm probably in the minority. The majority thinks it's a mental illness. I think it is just a form of severe abuse.
So that's it. It's severe abuse. So it's severe abuse. So now what do you think about Gypsy knowing that Dee Dee didn't even have that, Dr. Phil? And what's better, what do you think about yourself? Just asking. Asking for a friend.
But what we're talking about here, whatever you categorize it in, is someone who gets another person sick. They either cause them to be sick, cause them to be injured, or present them as sick or injured. One way or another, that person that they have control of is either induced to be injured or ill or presented to others as injured or ill. And sometimes it appears that they do it without any form of gain whatsoever.
How about malingering? How come you didn't mention that? Because at least malingering was mentioned in the medical records. It was suspected a couple times. Munchausen by proxy was mentioned, I think, once. I think malingering was mentioned 2 or 3 times. Our doctor here doesn't mention it at all, Mr. Genius. Guys, this is Issues with Toddy One Skip. I am Toddy One Skip. And you're not. You are not Toddy One Skip. I got some bracelets to put out in the mail. Wasn't able to put them out in the mail the way I wanted to because of the postal service. But you guys are going to get your bracelets. They're going to come in white envelopes, regular white envelopes, and they're going to be taped down to the back of the envelope because you can't just throw them in an envelope, apparently. Be better today than you were yesterday, not half as good as you'll be tomorrow. Look out for your bracelets. They're coming next week. I'm putting them in the mail over the weekend. I promise they are here, and I'm putting them together. All right, guys. Take care.